Hello everyone, welcome to Lisa Horton Crafts. My name is Natalia. Today I will show you some of the samples of Swatch book, and here are the stamps and dies and some stencils. So here is one die set and stamp set. Comes in a box, so some dies and stamp. They coordinate together, as you can see. If you stamp, this stamp for example is solid, you stamp first into the card and then you position the die on top, aligning those black dots and die cut. And the die set has two frames, one slightly bigger and smaller, and I'll show you some of them. So here are die cut two pieces of card, which is I got from biggest piece, and it's from smallest one. Also, it comes some there's some stencils, and they are matching the die frame. You can see it's the same size, and this one too. So this is die set and stencils and stamp set. You can do so many different things with your Swatch book. Also, Lisa has another stamp set. This is really brilliant stamp set. I've already used it. So it comes with the circle, and you can stamp solid colors of the ink here, and use big square, for example, add some different color inks together, or the same sort of color like darker and lighter for ombre effect. And you have little squares also here, and some sentiments. So I'll show you some of my samples which I did for Lisa. So I made this little Swatch book, and I used inks. So with some embossing foil you can decorate the top cover, and I've heat embossed with and used white embossing powder, and there I just added some more, made another cover ink, and use alphabet letters and then inks. So for this one I used Distress and Excite inks, and as you can see, just simple. I used green colors together, so here are Distress and Excite, and I've used stencil. As you can see, I've used stencil, and I've just drawn lines and wrote the names of the color of the ink. And here are those, I've just die cut little swatches using the die, and I've used some inks to blend, added some inks to it. So there I've used also, I used both sides. You can use only one, or you also can use you can use big one and add some a little swatches of the ink on a little piece of card, and you can attach this to the bigger card like this. I've just kept it a bit simple, so every time when I can use some inks for the project, I just can look for the color I want to use. So here are Distress and Oxide inks. Also at the back I've made some comba some colors, different free colors, and with that I've used a stencil, a big square stencil. So I've matched it up and I've covered with the post-it notes, or you can use some masking tape, and I just blended with the brushes free colors ink, and I just wrote down the color inks. So I made some, and I wrote down orange and yellow colors. There's some green and blue colors, purple, some pinks and red colors. Did I do any more? Yeah, more green colors. So this is one of the my books. And here is another little book, made a bit different, and I've used some of the Christmas rose stamps, and I watercolored with Euphoria watercolors, and also just stamped using just black ink. Also in those books you have little circles. You can add them to the book, to each page. So here is just, I've used only small piece of card, and here I've stamped those. So I've stamped, I will show you, and a die cut, and I've used and used some watercolor paints and adhered them. On my watercolor paints I've added numbers. Watercolor paint. So I've added numbers to I'll show you. So I've added some permanent marker, and I've added numbers to each paint just to know the colors. And I've wrote it down. I made a little swatch for the paint here also, just to know which color it is. So I've used also watercolor paints on the black card, and I just adhered here. Here also I've used pencils, polycolor pencils, and I just used different shaped rectangles, and I had some numbers from the pencils. And also here I've used different dyes, and I've used some of my other pens, sparkle pens. So you can do the way you want to do it. I use some of my watercolor pencils. I'll show you how to use stamps and dies and some stencils. So here I've made another book, and I've used Elisa's new banners dies, and I've added some words distress oxides, and I was thinking to put some to use some alphabet dies and to put word inks. And I used a stencil from my stash, or stencil, my background made with stencil with doily and some colors ink and mica. And for this one I've used also for inks, and I've used new stamp set, or another stamp set I've used, and I've used different color cardstock for each ink, and just to make more colorful. And now I will show you, I left one of the card and some blue inks which I'm gonna use for this page, and I'll show you how I made this. So I'm using my stamping platform, and I'm just aligning my card, and here are the stamps. So for this I've used square for the colors, and I've decided just to level up and use this position to know where to put they're gonna will fit the page. So position the stamps like this, and you can see I have some space, so I'm just moving a bit more. That's it. So I will remove those little squares, and also I'll be using because I already measured, I will be using widest one stamp with the lines, and I'm gonna position to the bottom. So I'm lining the third line with the stitching. And so for this I will use a VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. It's black ink. On this one I forgot, I want to use cover 2 lanes. So for the bottom I'm just use ink on 2 lanes. So I'm gonna just show you again. So just stamp 2 lanes, and you just stamp. So then you will have to clean away this, and here just position a bit down below. So some of my pages have only 3 colors, and some of them have 4. So now this one has 4. So now I'm gonna position just a little bit down below like this, and another one just matching this line with the stitch details of the frame. And remember just to add ink to the 2 lines. You also can use be easier for you use a little piece of post-it page. You can use some little paper, just put like this, cover it, and then apply ink, and then remove the paper away from the stamp, and then stamp. Like this. So here I've done it already. So now I will add those squares. Bigger one. So for this I will use blue color inks, and I'm gonna use some of this ink halfway to the bigger square. Now I'm gonna press around using my sleeve. So add more inks. Then I will use one of my black pen. Now I will write tumble glass. And I will clean the stamps. Then I'm gonna use broken china. So here I can use 2 of the inks for the square. So now I'm gonna have to clean again. So here is the page, and now we'll adhere this page to the card by gluing. I'm gonna use one of those. So now for this page we're gonna have to punch some holes and add little circles to the holes. I don't know what you call them. So doing that, I will even have to use a stencil. Actually, the biggest one, stencil. So you can use a stencil and you align to the card, and you use a pencil, and you mark the pencil here, the center, like this. And I'm using one of my husband a hole punch, which I've got really big one, and you can see a little arrow here. So that's where I will position that mark of the card to this arrow, and I'm just punching. So you've got 2 holes. So now for those holes I will have to use little circles, which are already die cut. So I'm gonna use this color. Really doesn't matter what color you're gonna use, it's up to you. As you can see on this dog, I've used all different colors, light or dark color on top. So I'm gonna glue them with the white glue. So here's your page, and of course you have to take this mark away. So now I will adhere this to my book. So I'm gonna find the blue colors and adhere to them. So there's the book. I'll show you again. Also on the back you can add more ideas with those color inks, maybe match blue and purples together, or blue and greens, make an ombre like I did in other book, like something like this. Can be also different colors, it have to be family colors. So now I will show you how I'm gonna stamp and dye and use the dye. Be really careful with the stamps and just release them all the way around slowly. Don't try to pull them too hard. So just all the way around and it will come out. So here's a stamp. So I'll use this card. Some position card. For this one, I'm using a small card, and I'm gonna use some alcohol markers, and I'll use a Memento ink. Stamp again. If you're gonna use some inks, you could use a stencil, and you just align like this, and secure with the masking tape. And you can blend some inks. For example, if you're gonna cover with the paper, for example, like this, and I'll use another one. And you can blend some inks. For example, if you're gonna use inks, dye-based inks, like Memento, and you can use this brush, and you just blend ink. So you've got this color. Always clean your stencils. Usually when I'm finished, I usually put them in the water and just dry them. So now I will show you how to use dye. So you position those holes like this, and you're securing with the masking tape, and your dye cut. Here are the swatches, and then you can use a page, or maybe you can use some colored one. So I've got black one. You know, you can add to the black card if you want to, but then you have to write with the white pen. So I'll use white card, and you can add and also color inks. You can write here, for example, dye inks, and you can add lines with the stencil. You can add to the bottom and write the name, or you can add to the side. You can even position them like this. You have more space to write. I mean, the possibilities is endless. Now I will show you. I did some samples with the stencils. So here is one of my sample. I've used a square stencil. So I use this stencil, and I've used my slimline stencils. I've positioned the square first, so I left some space where to write, and I positioned the squares like this. And position them slimline stencil on top, and then I used ink. So I've used these Exoid inks. I didn't clean the brush. So then you just add the colors, and I've just tried to add to the from the center, and then just gradually blend the square. Yeah, you can see. There's my two stencils. And then I wrote the names of the stencil. And just in the center, just wrote down slimline stencil. So with that, you can adhere them to the colored cardstock. the biggest one. And then the same as I showed here, left is the blue color card and blue inks. You just punch the holes, and here's that, and add to the book. For example, you can make a book just for stencils. Also, I made sample here with the embossing powder. I will show you how I did that. So you can use also colored cardstock, embossing folders if you want to. Also, it would be good to use some Lisa's new boxes. What else you can use? You can use watercolor paints, watercolor powders. Lots of things you can use. I think Dawn used in her sample, Swatch book sample, she used glitter. You can use glitter also. Also, I forgot to tell you that you also have little pieces to die cut. So you have also some dies. You have this little die. You can cut and fold in half, and you have a little smaller stencil, and it has some marks for those pieces, so you can mark, and then you just get that glue. If I'll just show you, so if I'll use one of the pages, I'm gonna use pencil, and I just mark this one. So if you can add that to the card like this, and you glue together, and then you can write here, for example, you can write watercolor paints, or just euphoria. You know, you can find euphoria paints here. And then the next page you can add a bit lower, you can mark again here and here, and yet another one like this. And you can, for example, write watercolor pens. Pencils, watercolor pencils. So, and you continue do that with other ones, from here to here, and then here and here, and you can have little those pieces here, and then you open, you can see watercolor euphoria there, and it will be all even. For example, like this. So you can have 4 of them like this together. So here I'm stamping at this circle chart with the Memento black ink, and I'm using my stamping platform. I'm stamping the circle into white smooth card. I'm stamping twice. Here I'm using my Copic markers, and I'm coloring in the circle, and I've chosen purple colors. So I'm creating a little chart of purple colors, and here I'm using my black pen and writing the letters and numbers of the pen. I'm using other purple colors, and I'm coloring in the chart. And also I'm adding the letters and numbers of the pen. So now I will add some color, some alcohol markers to those little swatches. So by looking at the circle of the chart, I'm choosing 3 colors, and I'm starting from darkest to the lightest, and I'm just adding colors to the little chart, little swatch. So on the back I'm writing the letters and numbers of the pens I've used, and here I'm choosing other colors and coloring in. So here I'm deciding for another 3 colors, and I'm coloring in the little swatch. I'm using a stencil, and as you can see, and little swatches to the side just to know where to draw the lines. So I'm positioning some of the swatches to the, next to the lines, and I'm drawing the lines slightly shorter. And as you can see, so I'm aligning to the card, the top of the card and top of the stencil, just to be sure the lines are straight. And here I'm writing the letters and numbers of the Copic markers I've used for the little swatch. So now I'm adhering those little swatches to the page. So at the bottom I've drawn the line, and I'm writing a word Copics. So here is the page, and now I will adhere that to the card, and I will use a matching color card, purple, as you can see here. Here I'm creating embossing powders page. So after I cut some of the pieces already, and here I'm adding a little swatch to the Versamark sticky ink, and I'm using some of my tools to hold it, and I'm hit emboss on the glass mat. So I'm using my tweezers, and here I'm adding more ink and more embossing powder to the side, because I've just by accident removed some of it. So now I'm using a pink embossing powder, and I'm doing the same. So here I'm doing the same for the other embossing powders, gold and silver. I'm using my tweezers again and heat emboss. So now I will be adding those little swatches of embossing powders to the page. So I'm aligning the little swatches, and now I will use stencil and draw some lines. So I'm drawing those lines and trying to position them straight. So I'm securing and then a stencil with the masking tape. And here I'm using my black pen and drawing lines. So as you can see, I'm aligning the stencil with the lines to the drawn lines already, and then just continue to draw the lines. So here I will write the names of the embossing powders. So here are all the swatches, and I've glued them all together, as you can see. So here I'm showing all of my swatches I did for this video and some of my books. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and you found this a bit useful. Please subscribe for more ideas and inspiration to Lisa Horton Crafts. Take care. Bye.